What are the Marlins doing? That is the question on everybody's mind. If you are an MLB fanatic, if you are, of course, a Marlins fan, that organization is interesting. So let's talk about the newest part of this saga, and that is the trade rumor that is being proposed by MLB Trade Rumors.com. The Marlins and the Rockies in talks about trading Edward Cabrera and Brendan Rodgers. I'm not sure if this is straight up. I'm not sure exactly what the details would be, but this is a very interesting trade for the future of, I think, possibly both organizations. So let's jump right into the numbers. Edward Cabrera, one of many studs on the Marlins pitching staff, right? You've got Cabrera, you've got Max Meyer, you've got Sandy, you've got Pablo, you've got Sixto, you've got some up-and-comers, Eater, Hoeing, and Perez. Like, you've got guys who are going to be studs. Cabrera is 25 years old, or 24 years old. He will be 25 in 2023. His numbers last year were really, really good. 6-4, a 3 ERA, started 14 games through 71 innings, struck out 75, and had an ERA plus of 1.35, a 2.1 WAR. That's pretty solid, if you ask me. Like, I guess, I don't know if he has enough to be considered a rookie or not, but even compared to his 2021 season, those numbers are astronomically better and different. So take that, and of course, I hope he just continues to develop and gets better and better and better. He will be a star. And on the other end of this, Brendan Rodgers. If you're a Rockies fan, probably not many of you are. We don't talk about them a lot, but he had a really, really good 2022 as he racked up 4.3 WAR. He's 25. He will be 26 next year, so pretty similar ages. 137 games. I mean, he was the centerpiece almost of this Rockies team. Batted .266, had an OPS plus of 96, so right on that cusp of being average, but still had 13 home runs and 63 RBIs. He did ground into 25 double plays, which I think is his problem. I think that's what really got him or knocked that OPS plus down a little bit. But regardless, still had a fantastic year and at 140 hits to cap it all off. Like I said, 4.3 WAR. Wow, that is a lot for a guy who played, with the Rockies. I guess that's pretty good. So those are the two guys, again, who would be in the trade conversation. I think it looks like it might be straight up. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. But the question becomes why? Like from the Rockies' perspective, I think this is a really good trade. You trade because they don't know what they're doing either, I don't think. But the problem with the Rockies has always been pitching, right? No good pitchers will ever go to the Rockies because the high altitude, you're basically at a 200-foot disadvantage. Like you're giving up home runs at a ×2 ratio than any other park in MLB. So no pitchers want to go there because that ruins their ERA and everything, and it makes them look worse. But if you're a hitter, you do want to go there. So maybe these numbers aren't as good if you're Rodgers, if you're somewhere else, right? So that kind of plays into it a little bit too. But if you're the Rockies, I don't know why you'd want to give this guy up, but if you want to go get Cabrera, and again, I don't know how this works, but I'm guessing Cabrera probably doesn't have a say in this, but if you're Cabrera, you don't want to go to the Rockies. But if you're the Rockies and you think that this guy will keep the ball in the park, yes, like that is the guy you want to go get, right? You want to go get a stud who will probably be an ace eventually or could be somewhere else. You want to get him on your team, lock him down, and hopefully he produces. But again, you're playing it in Coors Field. It doesn't make sense. And again, you've got a guy who's really young, 25. He's I think a little bit before his prime. He's already putting up pretty good numbers. And you want to trade him? Like, the Rockies do not have that deep of a bullpen or a farm system. You want to trade a guy who got 4.3 WAR who's 25? Like, what are you trying to do? You need talent around Chris Bryant. I think this could be a guy who would help out. But I don't like the trade. I'll just say that. Maybe that's a little biased for being a Marlins fan, and I want to see the Marlins actually develop into something good with the core group of pitchers that they have. But again, from a Marlins standpoint, you don't need this guy. You do not need a Rodgers on your team. You have Jazz, you have Wendell, you have Rojas, you now have Gene Segura. We're going to talk about that in a second. You've got guys out the wazoo. You don't need another guy. And again, he did really well in Coors Field. Is he going to replicate that in the humidity of Marlins Stadium? You know, I guess they have a roof, but you know what I'm saying. Does it make sense from either perspective? I mean, the guy was a first-round draft pick. It looks like third overall. And for the Marlins, like, he's going to be an ace. From a pure perspective, this looks good, but then you add in the ballpark factors, and I don't think it looks good. So I want to know what your thoughts are. I'm stumped on this. I would not make this trade, but again, I would love to know what your thoughts are. So let's talk about the second part of this, and more so with Miami. What are they doing, right? Because the Marlins just signed Jean Segura, and they want him to play third base. And again, I don't think Rodgers necessarily would play third base or shortstop in this scenario, you know, kind of where Jean Segura has played. Obviously, Jazz is going to play second, so Rodgers doesn't really fit. You've got Segura, you've got Jazz. If you go deeper into this, you don't really have room for Wendell or Rojas, especially if this trade happens, right? Those guys are a little older. They are 32, 33, and 34. There's just a lot of questions about this. Like, why did they go get Segura? The Marlins are very good at getting players that are a little bit past their prime. Wendell, great example. You know, was with the Rays, did pretty well there. They went and grabbed him. He did fine with the Marlins. Jesus Aguilar, another prime example of this. Hits a lot of home runs, was not a great player, was a little older. They went and got him, then they DFA'd him. Jean Segura is probably right down that same path. It's you have a older guy who has some experience, and you're going to give him a shot, but to play third base, that's what really throws me off. Anyway, there's a difference between having veteran experience and status rather than going out and getting guys like the Marlins. I think it's the right move to get a guy that's younger, and maybe, again, if they get Rodgers, they can get rid of Wendell, they can get rid of Rojas, and roll with Segura, Jazz, and Rodgers. That's a pretty solid core group of guys there. Does it make a ton of sense? No. Again, that's what I'm saying. And then from a Marlins organization, it doesn't seem like they know what direction they're going in. If they want to trade their star pitchers of Lopez and now Cabrera, yeah, they have Sandy and all the other pitchers that I mentioned, Sixto, and the guys coming up in the farm system, Perez and Eater and Hoeing. Like, they have guys who should be solid. Like, why are they trading so many guys then, right? Or at least the possibility to trade these guys of Wendell and Rojas. And then I even saw this today, and I wanted to wait for this because I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it was a joke. I don't know anything about this yet. I haven't looked into it. There is conversation about Jazz wanting traded. And I saw a tweet, again, I don't know if this is true, to go to the Braves, a rival, $50 million for 10 years or something like that. It was $50 million. It had to be a joke. But again, if that's the conversation, the Marlins are going to trade their star. What are they doing, right? And that's why I asked the question at the beginning of the video. They're trading their good pieces. They are not trading the pieces they should be. They're all over the place, and I'm so confused. So regardless of if this trade happens or not, I would love to know your thoughts on the Marlins organization as a whole, the direction they're going, right? They have a bunch of young talent. I think that give it a couple of years. Don't trade them. Why are you trading Pablo Lopez, right? Like, give it a couple of years. I think that they could have that potential to make a wild card, right? That's kind of where they always are at. They go get some guys who can maybe make a push, but they always trade their guys, right? Realmuto, Stanton, Yelich, every single player that's been good, they've always traded before they could become successful with the Marlins. And maybe that speaks to the Marlins development. Maybe that speaks to just trading guys to go younger and then, build it all up eventually. None of it makes sense. So that's why I asked the question to you. Would love to know your thoughts again on this trade. Which side, would get the win, the benefit of it, and if it's a good idea for the Marlins, because, again, who knows what they're doing. That's all I got for you today. Sorry if this video was a little bit wild, but just had to get my thoughts out there, and I want to know your thoughts. That's, of course, why I make these videos, too. So let me know. Like, If you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.